Welcome to the Community Broadband Bits podcast from the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. This is Lisa Gonzalez. This week, Christopher introduces us to Mayor Gary Fuller of Opelika, Alabama, and Jennifer McCain of the Motive Group. Chris's guests tell us a little about the history of the community and their decision to build a fiber network. The community has been held captive by horrible service offered by Charter Communications, but efforts to bring more private competition have failed. Community leaders want to bring reliable connectivity to Opelika and improve existing municipal electric service. A fiber network is the natural choice. The network is in the testing phase now, with deployment scheduled for May. As Jennifer notes, while more communities offer fiber network for telecommunications, they also take advantage of the investment to improve electric delivery and manage other municipal utilities. Let's go to Christopher, Jennifer, and Mayor Fuller.
Today on the Community Broadband Bits, we're talking with Mayor Gary Fuller of Opelika, Alabama, and Jennifer McCain of the Motive Group. Mayor Fuller, will you please start by describing Opelika to us?
Sure, be glad to, and it's a pleasure talking with you, Christopher, and thank you for allowing me and us to talk about my favorite community in the world, which is Opelika. Opelika was established back in 1854, so we've been around for about 159 years, and our claim to fame for many years, we were a railroad town in that we have an east-west railroad line and a north-south railroad line that interconnect in Opelika, and not very far from City Hall, where I'm speaking to you from. And then we had an economy that was based on agriculture and textiles. Then later on, we added a tire manufacturing plant, a magnetic tape manufacturing plant. All the textile plants are gone, and that's for the most part gone offshore and will not ever come back. But Opelika's managed to, I guess, sort of reinvent ourselves in that we've had a number of additional industries that have come to our community in the past several years, primarily the automotive parts manufacturing business, not only to serve the Kia plant in West Point, Georgia, which is about 20 miles from Opelika, but also the Hyundai plant in Montgomery, which is less than an hour from where we are. Then we've expanded that into a renal company that manufactures renal filters for kidney dialysis, very high-tech company, and then most recently a company that manufactures vitamins, minerals, and supplements, nature-made, and that's a company called Pharmavite. So we still have all of our automotive plants, but then we've added the medical device manufacturer and the vitamin manufacturer. So we're a community of about 27,000 people. We're part of the Opelika-Auburn metropolitan area. We're a small MPO, and I guess something of a little more than 100,000 people in the metropolitan area, and about almost 28,000 of those are in the corporate limits of Opelika.
Thank you. And Jennifer, can you say a little bit about your background? You and I met at the Broadband Communities Conference last year in Dallas, which I just want to plug briefly because anyone who's listening, that will be coming up again in 2 weeks in Dallas, and the Economic Development Program will almost certainly be broadcast online. So definitely take a look into that. But Jennifer, a little bit of background?
I have actually been working with municipals who were looking to build their own infrastructure, fiber infrastructure, for about 10 years. And I did that with a couple of different equipment manufacturers, most recently Alcatel-Lucent, and worked with communities like Opelika, Bristol, Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Morristown, and multiple communities, and then with Opelika, and helping them try to figure out the best way to get into the business, what the business plan needed to look like. And then in Opelika, we've been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work with them on actual execution of their project. This is a big undertaking for any community. Mayor Fuller and his support staff had the vision for this network, but like many others, they went and asked their incumbent providers to bring these services to their community, and they were not willing to make those investments. So they had the vision and the desire to do it for themselves, and we formed the motive group for the purpose of helping them execute on that. And we feel very passionate that this is the right thing to do, just like you do, and we're working on a day-to-day basis there with Opelika and helping them execute and bring services to their community as quickly as possible.
So you got into it a little bit there. Opelika started by asking the incumbents to improve their services. Opelika has the benefit of having a municipal electric department. But Mayor Fuller, maybe you can step us back a little bit and tell us how you came to be considering building your own network.
Actually, it came about when we were trying to find a competitor for Charter, because all of our complaints on their poor customer service, on their predatory pricing, Charter being the incumbent provider, their slow internet speeds just fell on deaf ears, and there was no one locally for Charter that could really make a decision. Those decisions were being made, I suppose, at corporate or somewhere else. So it was quite frustrating for me, and there was hardly a day that passed that I didn't get a call here at my office at City Hall with someone complaining about Charter. So we tried to recruit a competitor for Charter. Charter. We were not successful with that. They said the numbers wouldn't work. So we started looking into it on how we might be able to do it through Opelika Power Services. And then I became interested in improving our electrical distribution system that the citizens of Opelika have owned for over 100 years, and it is public power. So we said, well, how can we improve our efficiency? Well, you do that with smart grid, and you do it with fiber, and you do it with smart meters. And so one thing leads to another. That fiber has such capacity that we said, well, not only can we improve our power system, the local distribution and the reliability, but we can add video, we can add ultra-high-speed internet, we can provide telephone service. So that's really how we got into it.
And what was the time frame of when you were doing a lot of this investigation?
Well, it was back in 07, 08, and of course everything we did was, part of the public record, because the city council had to approve my request. Well, first of all, we did a feasibility study, and of course when that was done, they brought the results to the council meeting. So, the media was reporting on what we were doing. That, of course, raised a few eyebrows with the incumbent provider and perhaps other providers, and so there began to be a little more interest, and of course Charter wanted to tell us all the reasons why this wouldn't work and why it was a bad decision for the city to get into something like this. So that was really back in 07 and 08, and then we had to have a referendum, not for the fiber, not for the internet or the telephone or smart grid or anything else, but we had to have a referendum on being able to provide cable television services. And that was because of an Alabama law that was passed back in 2000, really designed to keep municipals like Opelika out of the cable television business. So we had a referendum, and the citizens of Opelika passed it and approved us doing the cable television part of this, which, of course, we didn't want to just build all that fiber. That's, as you know, can be quite expensive, and we wanted to be able to fully utilize it, which is to put everything that we can possibly put on there that will provide a service to our business and our citizens, and then ultimately we expect to get a return on this investment. You
had mentioned the referendum, which was when I first learned about Opelika. I think I saw some newspaper articles about it, and I was very interested. I saw that Charter was doing the same things they normally do. in terms of trying to discourage. And I remember your referendum was focused very tightly around the smart grid and the benefits of doing this to improve the smart grid, and seeing the cable television services as something that you would sort of have to do in order to bring along all the broadband and other benefits you wanted to do. Am I remembering that correctly?
Well, kind of, sort of. The referendum charter and others tried to make the referendum all about smart grid. It was not about smart grid. We didn't need a referendum for us to build and fully deploy our smart grid. We already had a version of smart grid. We've been doing automated meter reading for a long time with a TWAC system. So we had some of the smart grid in place, but that's what the opposition tried to make it out to be, that the referendum was about smart grid. And if we had smart grid and smart meters, we were going to be able to tell what you were doing in your house, or tell you what if your coffee maker was on and all that stuff. And of course, none of that's true. The referendum had one question: should the city of Opelika be able to provide cable television service to Opelika citizens? That was the question. So the answer was yes.
And do you remember the proportion of the return?
I think it was 63 or 64% that voted yes. So 35, 36% voted no. And then let me tell you what, the opposition, the conspiracy folks that had me in there with Al Gore and President Obama on global warming and being able to take control and tell them what electrical appliances they could use. They put out a lot of what I would term misinformation, and I'm sure that got them a few no votes, but at the end of the day, our citizens approved the cable TV part of it. So, and I'm not sure we would have done the smart grid and smart meter and all of that if we were not able to offer all these telecommunications products that we're going to be able to offer.
Jennifer, you had mentioned that your experience is working with many communities in Tennessee. I'm curious, Opelika is the first community in Alabama that I know of to do something like this, and I'm curious to what extent the Tennessee experience makes sense, and if you can, in terms of being a lesson, offering lessons to Opelika. But I'm also curious more broadly if you can sort of explain the benefits or the reason why one would tie so many different services, the smart metering and the telecommunication services into one network.
Well, I guess what's relevant with the experience that I've had, and it's not only in Tennessee. Actually, I've worked with customers across the country that have been looking to deploy fiber to the home networks. As you know, there's a pocket in Tennessee that went forward between 2004 and beyond. And there were a lot of lessons learned. Dalton, Georgia was actually another one of my customers I worked with, in Bristol, Virginia. So that, as people got into the business in the early stages, they were deploying networks based upon the demand that they had in their community for these competitive services. And over time, what started to become more and more, relevant was that there started to become more of an incentive and more of a need to upgrade the utility infrastructure as well, to make our electric infrastructure smarter in order to just be able to provide better service to our customers. And what really kind of started to become evident was that you could utilize the same infrastructure to do both. You could, for instance, when you had a fiber to the home infrastructure, if you can utilize an ONT to tell when, to isolate more accurately where a power outage has occurred.
And just for people who aren't familiar, an ONT is the device that's usually on the side of the house that communicates between the house and the network.
Yes, that's your telecommunications device that provides voice, video, and data interfaces to the home. But it can also be used for other things. It can be used to determine power outages and isolate them down to a certain geographic area. And in a lot of cases, electric utilities didn't have that intelligence built into their network before. And there's a long list of other things that as these networks have evolved, municipal utilities are great about talking to each other, learning from each other, and helping each other, from lessons learned, deploy networks and leverage them for other things. And I think that that's what has happened over time. There's been a, influence that we needed to start looking at how to smarten the electric systems and how to get, better information out of our electric systems so we could better manage our power resources. And then realizing you can also add telecommunications, products over it to meet the demands in your community for economic development and meet those other needs as well. It's a business plan that has evolved over time that has proven to be the most successful and profitable. And if you start to look at really the numbers, utilities that invest in this type of infrastructure can utilize funds that they have to make these investments. And really the return on investment when you look at structuring a plan that way is significant in comparison to just deciding we want to deploy telecommunications infrastructure alone.
Right. It seems intuitively to make sense that if you're going to be making a large investment, you want to try and create as many benefits as you can across as many sectors of the economy as possible, and that would also include municipal departments and that sort of thing. Now, if we jump forward to today, I'm curious how the network is benefiting the community and what exactly is happening this week in Opelika as a result of the network.
Well, this week, Christopher, we're signing up the first friendlies to be our test subjects for our system, and those are employees of Opelika Power Services. So they'll be installed this week, and they'll begin getting the video and the internet. I don't believe the voice part of it is quite available yet, but will be. So we'll get these friendlies on, and then we'll add some more to it as we work out any bugs or glitches we might have in the system. And then hopefully in May, could be the middle or latter part of May, we'll begin offering our services to customers. And I'm very anxious for that to happen, because all we've been doing for the past few years is spending money. So I'd like to have some revenue coming back this way. We don't know all the benefits yet. We're pretty confident of what those benefits will be, and now it's just a matter of executing our plan and getting customers online with us.
You made some very powerful enemies in pushing for this approach and upsetting Charter. In a number of places, we've seen Charter or other providers respond by trying to make the mayor's life more difficult when they've done that. And as you just stated, you've made a very large investment that you've had to pay all the bills long before the benefits start being achieved. I'm just curious if you have any advice for other elected officials who may have to face an election before the benefits are rolling in from a needed investment.
That's a great question. I'd pray a lot about it, and then I would. You got to make sure you got the courage and then the support. I was most fortunate in that I informed the city council. We have 5 council members, and I informed them every step of the way of what we were doing, and tried to educate them as I was being educated, and got the council totally involved. So every vote that we have had in the past on this has been 5-0. So if someone else is going to do it, of course, make sure you got some political support from your city council or your governing body. So we've been most fortunate in that, and we've been straight up with them on what to expect and what kind of payback period we're looking at. So it's not going to be an overnight success. I think just with a very conservative take rate, we're looking at, Jennifer, I believe it's about a 4-year break even. But you know, the good thing about that is that unlike some of these publicly traded companies, we don't have to have a quarterly earnings report, and we don't have to satisfy Wall Street. We do have to I have to satisfy Main Street, and that's the citizens that live here in Opelika. And we've been upfront with them about that it's going to take a while for us to get a return, and we do have to pay for this. We cannot use any tax money to pay for it. It'll have to be paid for out of revenues from the Opelika Power Services and from the telecommunications piece of this. So that'd be my advice for someone else looking at it.
And Jennifer, do you have anything to add on to that?
Yeah, I think that, I totally agree. I mean, like I said earlier, Mayor Fuller and his council had, the vision. They, went through a very diligent process of educating themselves on what it would take to do this, and made sure that it was the right thing for their community, and then, moved forward with the project with, implementing, the smart grid piece as well as the telecommunications. And I think that they have seen, I don't know, Mayor, you could speak more to the economic development piece, but I think that there's interest, in other systems I've dealt with. There's the fiber system itself is typically of interest to businesses who are looking to move into communities and establish themselves there. I think that'll provide a benefit. But also, I think as they move forward, they'll be able to do things that, with their system that they're going to see great benefits from in saving their community money and managing, more efficiently managing their electric system. Their community will see a benefit, as we've all seen in the past, with competition enter the market. There will be better pricing, and there'll be better service from everyone. So, we see that as a benefit to the community. We expect completely that our competitors will. We know they've been upgrading their networks, which they probably wouldn't have done without this project being built. We see them in the field as we're doing installation of the infrastructure itself, and know their intent is to come out with very competitive pricing when we launch. And we see that as also just an overall benefit to the community that it will have lasting, and long-term effects for them.
And one of the other benefits we often see in the communities is much better services to local schools and municipal departments. Have you started to see any of those types of benefits yet?
Well, there's a great deal of certainly interest from Opelika City Schools and from our community college. We have a regional hospital that I believe they would have signed up 6 months ago if we could have served them. And of course, they're really interested in that speed, of that ultra high speed on the internet, because what they're doing now is just frankly pretty slow when you're sending those really big files. So yes, we there's a lot of interest there. Certainly as we recruit business and manufacturers to come to Opelika, the fact that we're going to have a fiber network is very important to most of them. That's going to be a long-term benefit, and part of what we've tried to look at, and I've encouraged all of us to look at, is not what this is going to do for us the first year or the fifth year, but what it's going to mean to Opelika 10 years and 20 years from now. For us to have this kind of technology, what it's going to mean for our children and our grandchildren. This is a long-term project that is going to be paying, I think, dividends and benefits for many, many years to come.
Is there anything else that we should know about Opelika as we sign off the podcast?
Well, yeah, you ought to come down here and visit us, Chris. Now, I know that you're a sports photographer, and you can come down here and shoot. There's the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail in the state of Alabama, and the crown jewel of all the trail courses is located in Opelika, and it's called Grand National. A few years ago, Golf Digest magazine rated all 334 metropolitan areas, and the Opelika-Auburn Metro was chosen #1 for golf we beat Myrtle Beach and all these other places, primarily because of Grand National, part of that Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail. So I would invite you to come down here and visit us. Maybe you could come for the ribbon cutting when we start serving customers and open our new facility, administrative building, and come down here and stay 3 or 4 days and spend some money with us.
I would like that very much, although I, to be honest, I might be more interested to try and play on your connections to get into an Auburn football game while I'm down there.
we can do that. Even though Jennifer and I both bleed crimson, we're very, very fond of Auburn, and what a great university it is, and what a great partner they've been for the city of Opelika, especially in the area of economic development. So Auburn's a great school. Of course, didn't have a very successful basketball season this year, and of course you guys at the University of Minnesota fired Tubby Smith, and I guess he hasn't announced a new coach yet, have you?
No, we have not, and I've greatly appreciated Tubby. He was he has so much integrity. Just regret that we couldn't get more wins.
Yep. Well, and of course, football is the big deal down here in the state of Alabama, and especially at Auburn and in at the University of Alabama. So, yeah, you come on down here. We know some folks over there, and we can get you in and get you a sideline pass, and you can shoot all the pictures you want to.
I will definitely put that on my list. I want to do a trip driving around the country, hitting as many networks as I can, and call it a vacation. I'm not sure I can talk my wife into it, but you're on the list now. And Jennifer, is there anything else that you'd like to throw in terms of your experiences with Opelika that we should know?
Well, I will tell you the project that Opelika has decided to undertake is large as any I've seen. They're a smaller community, but at the same time they've undertaken building a fiber infrastructure. They're building new facilities. They've undertaken becoming really the first CLEC in the state of Alabama. True, going to the FCC and actually having to validate some of the laws in the state of Alabama and how you get through the process of becoming a CLEC. They've had a lot of firsts. They're continuing to move forward very aggressively. We're very honored to be a part of this project. I think it'll be instrumental in helping them to continue to be at the forefront of just communities and economic development. They're a very progressive community, and this is just another example of that.
Let me add this, Christopher, to what Jennifer was saying. When we started on this, the important thing for us was not to be some kind of pioneer or to get a lot of kudos for being bold or brave. We knew what we wanted, and we were convinced of what the long-term benefits would be. Now, some of these battles we've had to fight have been a challenge, to say the least. But we're probably better people for it after having gone through some of that, and we're excited about the future.
And I hope that you've helped to lead the way for other communities in Alabama that may be in a similar situation to where you had been before you move forward. One of the things that we found with networks that are successful is they can start reaching out into unincorporated areas around them and other rural communities to work together and find a solution. So I'm just really thrilled that you found a way to make it work in Alabama, and I very much look forward to following your progress.
Great. Thanks a lot, Christopher.
That was Christopher visiting with Jennifer McCain and Mayor Gary Fuller from Opelika, Alabama. Learn more about the community at opelika.org, including a video tour that you can take of the city. You can also visit muninetworks.org and follow the Opelika tag to see more on our coverage of the network. In addition to information in print, we have posted a few videos from local media about the network and about the community. We want your questions or comments. Email us at podcast@muninetworks.org. Follow us on Twitter to learn about all the most recent developments relating to community networks, broadband policy, and telecommunications. Our handle is @CommunityNets. This show was released on April 2nd, 2013. Thanks again to D. Charles Spear and the Helix for their song, Freddie's Lapels, licensed using Creative Commons.